All right, so I know that this looks like a book. It's got, a cover like a book. It's bound. It's got lots of pages. But the Bible isn't a book. It started its life in the Greek language as the phrase ta biblia, which is actually plural. It means the books. So the Bible, in point of fact, is really a library. Welcome to 10 Lenses. This is session 4. I'm Adam Thomas, and we are talking this week about all of the different kinds of writing that are found in this library that we call the Bible. So what we call the Bible is really just a whole bunch of different kinds of writing put together in this library. Another word for that is different genres of writing. Here's what I mean. Just off the top of my head, there's transcribed oral history, prophecy, poetry, gospel, correspondence, sermon, song, vision, law code, genealogy, novella, advice column, propaganda, shopping list, architectural schematics. There's all different kinds of writing in the Bible. And this is really wonderful because it lets us know that the people who wrote the Bible encountered God in so many different facets of their lives. So what does all this have to do with studying the Bible? Well, knowing the genre of the passage that you're studying can really help you start to unpack it. You might expect to find dialogue in the gospel because the genre of the gospel is narrative. You might expect to find poetry in the Psalms because the Psalms started their lives out as liturgical songs. Indeed, attached to a lot of the Psalms is accompaniment instruction for the different types of instruments you might use while singing it. But what if you found poetry in the Gospel? What would that tell you? Perhaps the writer of the Gospel was reaching back to an earlier tradition and putting some liturgical song on the lips of a character. Think about Mary singing to God in her Magnificat in Luke chapter 1. And that harkens back to Hannah singing to God in the first book of Samuel in the Old Testament. Or check out the words that Jesus says from the cross in the Gospels of Mark and Matthew. My God, why have you forsaken me? These words are the first verse of Psalm 22. So perhaps the Gospel writer, in quoting that psalm, is telling us to go back and read the entire thing to start to reflect on what's going on with Jesus on the cross. Being sensitive to the various genres of writing found in the biblical library helps us to compare all of the different ways that the writers of the Bible explored their encounters with the living God. One writer finds God in the proportions of architecture. One finds God in studying all of the generations of people that have gone all the way back to Abraham and beyond. Paul explores his encounter with God by writing letters to the various churches he's founded. Putting these different experiences in conversation with each other shows us the wonderful range of expressions of the life of faith in God. So this week I invite you to delve into the stacks of the biblical library. Look for all of the different genres that you can find there. And remember that all of these different types of writing show us the different kinds of encounters that people in the Bible have had with God. Those people are just like us. We encounter God in so many different ways in our lives because the biblical story continues to be written. One of my favorite passages of the Bible is at the very end of the Gospel according to John, where the writer sort of steps out of character for a minute and speaks in the first person. The writer says that if all of the things that Jesus did were written down, I don't suppose the world itself could contain all of the books that would be written. We are those books because Jesus continues to write the story in us. We continue to live out the life of faith in God in myriad ways, all of these different ways that are reflected in all of the different ways that the life of faith is lived out in the Bible. So get lost in those stacks this week, and we'll see you again next time on 10 Lenses.